Good afternoon, welcome. This is our live program on a Sunday. I said good afternoon. I don't quite always say good afternoon because this program is being repeated and people view the program at different times. But understand that I actually said good afternoon because the program is aired the first time at 2 o'clock on a Sunday in the afternoon. So that's why I said good afternoon. Welcome to yet another of my exchanges. We do this once a week where I come on here for 60 minutes, nothing longer, probably a little less at times, to deal with what I think are interesting issues as pertains to political affairs of our country, Dominica, my native country, the politics of the region, and international politics. Incidentally, I am equipped to speak on those areas by virtue of my professional competencies. That notwithstanding, I am an ordinary Dominican like everybody else. I have ideas and I always choose to share some of my ideas with you with the view that at least there would be something about my ideas which probably could complement yours and vice versa, and we find a way to work it out together. My topic today is mass protests and violent riots as means of regime change in Dominica. What really is my position on this? And that's what I promoted as my topic. And I must say that I was shocked. There seemed to have been a sort of real pool of comments from my piece. I would have gotten a number of different shares, the most I had gotten in a long time. I didn't realize that there were so many people interested in that discussion. And the comments were endless. So here we go with my discussion. I'm hearing a little mic stuff in my background, guys. I hope it doesn't really bother you too much, but I get the feeling maybe it doesn't come from my studio. Hang on a minute, let me make sure I correct this before. Hang on, guys. All right, I think it is corrected. Yeah. So as I said, the attention and interest in this particular discussion is a bit overwhelming, and I am going to attempt to present the piece based on my own thinking. Because I've heard enough talk about protest, and I've heard enough chants about biokulwash, TWU until they come out. I can show you many messages in my phone, and I can go back to many public disclosures, several of them probably in the hundreds, where people are advocating for some sort of action against this regime that they call so many names because that is the only way they're going to go. And I, Alex Bruno, do not agree and believe that protest in any form is the only way that we could have regime change in Dominica. So I don't promote protest in any violent manner. I certainly am not in tune with any sentiments of riots. I honestly and fervently believe that we can change our government without having to resort to any of the aforementioned. However, if the people decide is that they want, who am I to say that that's not what the people want? But I don't think that's the people want because my work with the people suggests that's not what other people want. Dominicans are peaceful, loving, caring people until they get whipped up enough to take action. And we did take action in the 1970s, and I'm going to speak about that. But the sentiment generally from the people, based on not just my observation or my emotions, scientific guided research tells me that the people are one, fed up with the status quo on both sides of the present political divide. C'est moun la yo pa vie opposition, yo pa vle opposition la, and they do not want what's in office. They stick with what's in office because they prefer what's in office more than what the opposition is promising. And that is as plain as day. Over 35% of people in a poll that I did a couple years ago, which is old, felt that way. And it might be more now. People have generally resigned themselves to a sense of hopelessness, where people believe that, boy, Tiwait Samitesa is more of the same. And the people are right. And I'm going to suggest why I know the people are right. So it is not a problem that Dominicans have. Dominicans are beautiful, enterprising, bright, brilliant, progressive people. And Dominicans want good for themselves. And when Dominicans see something that is making a sense, they will rally with it. But right now, they're sticking with what they know. Because who is seeking to replace what they know is not sowing seeds of cooperation and coalition and friendliness. They are there castigating labor rights and calling them names, calling Dominicans names that they should not be calling Dominicans. How you expect those people you calling names to be part of your movement to riotously take out the government? That's not going to happen. So, just to be clear, no contradiction that I do not believe that riotous protests, especially those that will evolve in violence, is the only answer to regime change in Dominica. I don't support it, but if the people believe that's what they want to do, as one of the people who try to work with the people, I am in it with the people. But I will not call for it because I am not satisfied that the alternative had done all it could have done to unseat this regime. Probably a lot was actually done, but it was not done sufficiently to come across, to meet enough people who now do not support them. That's why they are still in opposition and may remain there for a long time to come. Because for you to be able to move the people, you must wake up the people. If your message is cursing the people and calling the people that they support Kabbalists and everything else, how you expect to have a mass movement of people to put you in office? And those who are in office now, who are doing all the machination to remain in office, you can do that for as long as you can. You will no longer be able to machinate your way into power. The people will take action eventually. And if it is protest, they decide to protest, so be it. But I think the biggest protest we're going to be having is the ballot box, as was the case when the Freedom Party swept the polls in the 1980 elections and 85. And of course, things started to dwindle because a new movement came on the scene, a breakaway faction, sort of. Not really a breakaway faction. People who supported freedom, some who supported labor, created a new party, 1988, and came together. But let's go back further to set the proper context. Dominica was the first Caribbean country to have had an all-black legislature. We, Dominica first, no other country in the Caribbean but Dominica. We were the first country to have all blacks run in the legislature. And that was not a good thing for the people, the colonials, the conservatives. Dominica had been a very progressive and liberal country from the start. Dominica, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominican Republic, were the only few Caribbean countries to have established themselves as republics with a president as the head of our state. Every other country, including Barbados, which just became a republic. Well, Guyana too. Guyana is a republic, sorry. But all the other countries remained as quasi-Commonwealth, colonial setup with the Queen as the head of government or the crown. Even today, as we speak, Jamaica and all these countries, St. Kitts, Nevis, Antigua, St. Vincent, all these countries see the the king now as the head of government, had a head of state, head of state, while the prime minister is head of government. No, yes, those countries are independent, but what does really independent really mean? Independent just the name there. And the symbol of your statehood is the king. How does that make sense? So Dominica moved out. We became the first black co-control legislature. And Dominica had been very progressive. Dominicans are very progressive and enterprising people from day one. The DUPP emerged as a sort of plantocracy, elitish party to run the affairs against the local homegrown parties. And did well enough, but not controlling their legislature in any serious way. And then the Labour Party was formed to challenge the DUPP. I think the Labour Party would have come on this scene in 1955. And Labour represented a real people's movement. That was Labour. So Labour, under the leadership with the ideal of promoting the struggle of the ordinary man, championed by Edward Oliver LeBlanc, worked for ordinary people and created policies that freed up Dominica in a kind of a way so that the ordinary person, people of color, could work in the banks, could have holdings, could have a say in the affairs of the state. It was not so before. And the other party which emerged were conservative parties. They were not too pressed on trying to have peasants become industrialists and people like that. That's not how the ideology of the politics work. So Labour Party represented that. Labour Party kind of took over the reins of government in Dominica from the 1960s. And right there, the bourgeoisie, the plantocracy, the elite class was boxed out of power. Probably for a long time, but it didn't stay long. It didn't last long before they seized the power again. So Labour did what they had to do. LeBlanc left. Patrick John came in. Patrick John won in a massive way, and Patrick John was kicked out of office 5 months after Dominica gained independence under Labour. And that was the last time Labour Party was in power in Dominica. The party that's in power in Dominica right now is not the Labour Party. And Labourites know that. They are speaking about it, some of them quietly, but they do not have an outlet to manifest themselves because the party has pretty much been controlled by a power sharing arrangement led by the Honorable Prime Minister of Dominica and his group of very well-placed society people. I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm just talking about how the power system in Dominica is set up. That's how it is. And if you're part of the power structure in Dominica, I have no hard feelings. I'm just explaining to the people what's going on. Labour Party is not in power. Labour has not been in power since 1979 because Freedom Party came in. They lasted for 15 years, 3 terms. Workers took them out. The workers again came as a faction, not a faction, a breakaway from some freedom from Labour, create a new kind of vibes similar to what Labour was intended to do. It worked. They won. They were kicked out by an arrangement, an amalgamation with a DLM, Rosie Douglas, Freedom, Demu Jr. and Sovereign, and the remnants of what Labour was, the Labour base. But it is not Labour that won any election. And Labour has not won since. Labour has been taken from different sides. Labour has taken from workers, taken from everybody else. So we have a power sharing arrangement in Dominica. That is not Labour. And when Labourites wake up to realize that, I hope not too long again, they will shelve you with this power sharing arrangement. Or who can arrange the Labourites and the majority of people, who can arrange Labourites with the rest of the majority will win the next election. And the way things have been going on, the alternative has not been doing that. Because all they have been doing is cursing the so-called Labourites who are not Labourites in any case. They are just people who support the Labour-branded power sharing arrangement. When your message was supposed to be curtailed to get those people to wake up, similar to what His Excellency, former President of Dominica, Charles Sovereign, et al. Would have done. Listen to the message of the 1970s. Tell me, who they calling Dominicans what? Who they calling Dominicans dotish? Who they calling Dominicans people who like Mize? And the things that you calling Dominicans today? No, I can't remember, because as some commentators said, I was not around. I was around, but as a kid. But I have read. So too, Dr. Honeychurch was not around when Dominica was discovered, but he wrote about Dominica. So it is okay for him not to be around and know, but it's not okay for me not to be around and know about our history. Some people are just so myopic and selectively whatever in their minds. Dr. Honeychurch was not there when the colonials came, but he has a lovely book, The Dominican Story. Why can't I speak about the 1970s, even if I wasn't there? More powers to you. You might have been there, you have the experience, but those of us who didn't experience it still can talk about it. So Dominica has not been under Labour Party rule since 1979. Freedom Party for 15, workers, again, kind of orange and tried to do things how Labour was doing it, got in office and got taken out on the heels of charges of corruption. That Ruzi later said that was just politics, man. Nothing to see here. And after that, we got back this arrangement that we now call Labour, that maybe some Labourites do not realize is not Labour, but some do know. And the majority of the people who are in this power sharing arrangement will be freedom people and former system people. And the reason why the opposition has not been able to make any inroads for the past 20 years is because they are speaking to their own converted customers and supporters and telling them repeatedly over and over again how bad that other side is, when you're supposed to try to get support from that other side. Say you guys are beautiful, I know you guys mean well, but find a narrative that work with them so you get some support from them to build in your support, because you have a very strong base. I think the opposition party has about the strongest base on Ireland right now. But the base is not enough for you to win. You have to get people from other areas, and you keep losing from your base, because people like me, I was part of your base. And there are lots of splinters of the opposition. Why do you think it is so? You think Dominicans just like to splinter themselves into little pieces? No, Dominicans are looking for accommodation. You're not giving it to them. What do you expect them to do? Talking about unity now, all of a sudden, when so long people have been saying, try to get ideas and voices together. You cannot want to run things the way you're running things. You will not succeed. All of a sudden, now you're talking unity. Even the government now talking unity. When I started talking unity of purpose, not just everybody coming together, bringing minds together, which is what my dear friend Mr. Savrin did in the 70s. Look for like-minded individuals and get a strong message and spread the message. Dominicans warmed up to the message. People like my grandmother, who worshipped Patrick John, were in line picketing against him because the message against him was so strong. Nobody calling her sort and dotish, that she felt she was at risk of losing her country. That's what you need to do right now, Bagafesa. You don't have making noise and saying you're going to jail who is Kabalis and who is that, and expect to win an election like that. Calling for protests every day with no build-up like Charles Savary and them did in the 70s. No money, no financing, no support, no strong narrative around one thing, no bringing together all the different people, include those that not supporting you. You expect a successful protest and riot? You had a big chance to win an election, or at least to do better, because this man went to call election without the reform that he promised he would have given. And you letting the man call your bluff, and you're not going to contest to at least gain some more traction, get some more seats, and then fight again. And you're telling me that it's protests and riots alone. No, I'm not saying that the opposition is saying that. I'm saying messengers who identify as the opposition are saying that. And I'm getting hits and messages talking to them in my private DM and on public forum, where it seems as if they are saying the only way to take out that government is through violence protests. That's all you know. How the hell you expect to take out an entire national government supported by a regional team and international armed forces? You have to have an army stronger than the national army and the regional army together, and you don't have it. So, and even if you have it, what's going to happen in Dominica? It's going to be bloodshed. Now, am I going to be a party to calling the youths out for a bloodbath because of power? No, 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 no. I'm not angry enough for power. In fact, I have no desire to be in office. As you know, some people are spreading the news that Alex wants to be in office. Me, all I want to do is to teach and to get involved in trying to spread the message of love and progress and build our culture in many ways. I don't want power, guys. I've never wanted power. I'm not a violent person. I never preach violence in Dominica. In fact, I'm saying today that violence, protests, necessary, but rowdy, violent protests to change a government in Dominica? Oh, no, 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 no. We already changed a government unconstitutionally before. Patrick John was taken out of office unconstitutionally, where he lost the head of state thanks to the opposition, the freedom and the movement. He had nobody to maintain law and order, and then the opposition called the parliament that he, the prime minister, was supposed to advise the president to call. How do you explain that parliament was called and the prime minister was taken out of office when the prime minister didn't call parliament? Up no, Patrick hasn't resigned. So that's what you want us to go back to, the 70s, guys? No, we can't go back. We have to move forward. And the youths. I heard Trilogy said the other day, we're taking time to take our country back. And Trilogy, somebody that I know, I talked to Trilogy, and Trilogy is not a violent guy. Trilogy didn't mean that in a way. Let's go on. No, it's not from anybody in particular. He felt that it's time that the youth stamp their authority on the country so that they can progress. I cannot speak for him. He can speak for himself. And I've spoken to many young people who are speaking, and their talk is about finding their own way in their country. The average person not talking about protest, and I don't think protests will succeed in Dominica until it is done well. Now that His Excellency is no longer president, we hope he can help us to mount a unifying protest. Oh, and some of us at least have ideas too. For you to get people to protest, you have to entice people, you have to wake up people, you have to give people time to build. Give me a few months, let's plan. Look at what happened. Well, I don't want to talk about that latest current issue in the world there, because I don't even want to mention what's happening in Gaza. Some people see it as a good thing. Some people think that Hamas should continue, and the Palestinians should do what they have to do to regain some pride. And some people believe that Israel should do what it needs to do to demolish the insurgency. Again, if that's what it takes, if it's power and force and military, it takes, fine. But I think diplomacy is always going to be the way. I don't see a one-state solution. I don't see a two-state solution. I see us trying to find a way to work ourselves out of it. Right now, I don't think it will happen now. I think we're going to have some bloody conflicts. But is that the answer? How can that be the answer, guys, in this modern times? So for those of you who believe that I am preaching violence and I'm speaking about protests and overthrow and revolt, my talk is unity. First of all, among the people who believe that we can do differently in Dominica. And I believe the majority of Dominicans agree that we can do better. The government you have in power is a majority government in terms of the results, but it's a minority government in terms of real popular support. I honestly think so. Now, yes, there are people who vociferously support the government, but the 18-2 election result does not aptly capture the position of Dominicans when it comes to politics at this time. Most of the people in Dominica have either reclused themselves from the process, are not involved, not participating, and the majority you have is a majority of the minority. Look at the percentages of Dominicans who voted in the different constituencies. Not the majority of people. Yes, maybe a mere majority, but lots of Dominicans didn't vote. We have over how many? 70,000 voters. How many voters voted last election? So if the minority turn up to vote, the minority will get the vote of the majority. But there are many Dominicans who have not voted for 15, 10, 20 years, and who will vote if a good slate of people show up to represent the interest of the progressive class. So again, let me repeat, I don't support any undue form of uncontrolled violence. I believe that constitutionally, protests are guaranteed, and I don't mind a really nice, strong, well-organized protest to show the voice of the people in numbers. But the rhetoric that I've been hearing about protests, I suspect, will or has the potential of inflaming individuals. And I see protests turning into riot in Dominica. Easily, because people are inflamed. We have a lot of ammunition in the place, illegal ammunition. And I see blood. And I cannot want that for my people. I can't want that for the youths. I can't want that for anybody in Dominica. We can take out that government. And the government is due to go. They know they're ready to go. I'm telling you, this last knee-jerk reaction of the calling of an election was done because that was the weakest the incumbent movement was. And if only some had the vision to stand up, change the narrative, dump that idea they had, and come in for new talk, oh really? I think it would have bore fruit. Probably maybe not a full win, but better showing in the legislature, to the point where today you could have stood up and fight against what you want to fight against by being out. How can you fight the system outside of the system? The best way to deal with the system is to get inside and fight from inside. Ou quitter ça ou tenir, ou aider ou let go from them from the war. And because I stand with the people, I message with the people and for the people and for unity, the same unity I message for and ask you to do, ou parfait. No, I'm speaking about it on a TUD platform. You're trying to demonize me as if I want power. You're putting the people against the person who is for the people, and you are just for your party. Your reason why you will not contest in last election is because it's not fair, you will not win. That's what I heard your leader say. Don't blame me. I heard your leader say it is not fair, you will not win. Unless we have reform, we will not win. Who the heck tell you reform is going to make anybody win? Reform doesn't make anybody win election. Reforms make the process fairer and better. So when you start talking about reform in a form for you to win, because reform will come and you will lose worse. Reform is not a matter for any party to win or lose. It's a matter to make things fairer in a democracy. It's a significant aspect of any democracy. And yes, we need reform in Dominica. But I'm not guaranteeing that the reform that we're going to get there by the end of the year, or maybe early next year, is going to favor any other team, because the reform, I have an article coming out, and you will see what I think about the reforms. The process pretty much was controlled by the incumbency, by the status quo, and the reform is going to reflect the wishes of the status quo. So it's even going to be worse. But at the end of the day, it's people that's going to vote. And if you can get people to understand that, look, you have the biggest voice in any reform, I think people will vote against what has been happening after a while. Dominicans will move when Dominicans are moved. And that is pretty much, in a nutshell, what I wanted to say. But I get the feeling when some hear you promote a topic, they go crazy, they go berserk. I mean, you should know me by now. You should know where I am by now. Yes, I have been taking out the mainstream media in Dominica, the mainstream opposition media and mainstream incumbent media. I have not been on the incumbent media. Well, I was a member of the DBS Broadcasting Corporation, still am. Legally, my job is not yet over with. And I was taken off that since last election. And after last election, I made a different move and I was taken off the opposition media. So I have no traditional media outlet, and they're using that opportunity to paint me as if it's power I want and it's trouble I'm making. No, Dominica, I'm fighting for you. If there is one man in Dominica that's fighting for you, it's me. I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for the youth. I'm fighting for the future. Not for me, for us. I want to be able to enjoy myself in Dominica. I'm growing older, man. I'm in my 50s, cruising to my 60s, you know. Some people have passed there already. I guess that's the reason why they are panicky, because they have not done enough to secure their future. So they think the party and the government will help them. So they want to do all they can to keep the party in power. It doesn't care who is in power or not. I just want Dominica to be nice, so I can enjoy my little time in Dominica, enjoy my little inheritance, and pass on my stuff that I inherited to other people, my children and their children. I want us to have a country where even if things are not bright and rosy, but at least we own the country still. Things are not great in Jamaica and Barbados and St. Lucia and Guyana, but those countries are pretty much under the people control. They are not an incumbent party jamming things down their throat. No. And that is a problem for us in Dominica. People who do not support the government now is like something, it's like they're scared to walk, walking on eggshells. I work with the youth, many youth. Today I had a couple of meetings with young people. I work with other individuals. I work with people across the sector. And people are scared. People are very cautious. People are not creatively bringing out the ideas that they used to. You might see somebody do a song and they're afraid to sing a song like a song Chubby would sing. Well, Choba's not making the song anymore. He doesn't have to. He did his work already. Gordon Anderson, Chui You, I Can See the Crisis. All these songs were songs that spoke about the time. Right now, artists are not writing those songs. I guess the nasty business is what makes sense now. And this but where are the issues? People are scared. Who else is speaking? Which other professional who's putting their neck out there, like I am doing, to speak to the people and try to explain things from a non-partisan lens? Which one? Show me one. There are messengers who claim that they're messaging for 20 and more years and they stop because Dominicans not listening. Well, if you stop and Dominicans not listening, it's because your message was not reaching Dominicans. There's no way your message would reach people and people would not heed it. Or probably the means of getting the message was just too, I guess, autocratic, high-handed, speaking down at people. People don't like people speaking down at them. And I'm not referring to any messenger here. None. I'm just saying generally, if you have been doing something for how many years and people are not responding, well, something is wrong. Look at Mr. Savrin and others. They started messaging against Labour Party from the time Labour Party came out in the 1950s. Let's say the 1960s. So 60, 61, Labour won. From 60 to about 78. That's how many years? 16 years. That was it. People's mind had already changed. It took not even 2 decades. Constant messaging and barraging and messaging. People who supported the Labour Party wholesale turned sufficiently and torpedo the Labour Party. And you speaking for 20 years and you can't get one person to believe you on the other side. So you are ineffective and your message is weak. Your message is good, but your messaging is poor. And that is, I think, the crux of the matter, where we have good message, those of us who are part of the progressive movement, but we choose very poor means and very, very unfit messengers. Joshua is a good messenger, Joshua Francis. I know the brother well. Lofty is a bit on the rough side of the edges, but Lofty is a good messenger. We have people who could message, but instead of using them to message, we're using our own ilk and we are butchering the message. That's why our message is not resonating with the people who you need it to resonate with. How much stronger can your base be? Your base is already safe. See what the other side is doing. He knows his base is safe. He keep them there and he come and take people from you. Dancing a little belly, a little jimping, a little smile. Doing what he has to do to take your people. And you just there cursing his people. Who is going to win? So that's what I observe. And I've been trying unsuccessfully to say, guys, different message, kind of tone. Don't pay attention to that. Let's switch gears. But no. So let me tell you last, I decided to try a thing to do it a different way. And that's what I have been doing, guys. Dominicans, that's what I'm about. Yours truly has no personal and present, nor medium-term or long-term desire to be prime minister. I see a messenger lady. She normally calls herself the toothless person. I have no problem with people and their no teeth. Telling me if I had become prime minister, if that's what I would say, me, Alex Bruno, ever tried to become prime minister of any country? I have no desire. You are listening to what they tell you about me. People who were once my friends, I thought, my family, I thought, have just switched gears on me, 180, and making me look like I'm a crazy man, when all I am doing is what I've been telling them for us to do. And some of them, when they come and talk to me, and I have records of our conversation, last week, the week before, they take what I say and go and say it as if it's they that saying it and sounding good. And I just stay quiet. Because at least the message that I want to go out there is going out there on the media that I don't have access to. But I have it in black and white. They're sounding like me. Anybody who know how I think will listen to certain people who, after talking to me, they go on their media and talk and still make me look bad. But it's my words, my message, my advice. Guys, it is not fair what we are doing to our people who are trying to help our people. You are putting the people against the people who are for the people. And you are trying to play the mighty and glory the persons who are for them because you are for your party. None of the existing political structure in Dominica right now will be able to navigate us from where we are, because some of you, if you win, you're going to put us back into the times of past, because you're going to make amends for all your lost grounds. Those of you who are now, if you continue to win, is even worse. Uja last deja. New idea, new message, new breed, new set of people, new focus, new hopes, new desire. Both of the major factions in Dominica lose your youth base. I know people, youth, who are willing to die for both sides. Right now, not even one youth. You may have some youth around you because you do what you want to have the youth. But the youth are not there because the youth is there for the youth. The youth is there because you tell the youth to be there for you. A nice and emerging youth movement is happening as we speak, and it is that movement that's going to be the impetus of change in Dominica. Not violently. Not violently. Not violently. Violence in Dominica is not going to benefit anybody. In fact, it will benefit the status quo. And some of you calling the status quo leader a dictator and a this and a that. You don't even know what you're doing. When you give him the title and you christen him that, it's easy for him to claim, well, all you knew I was that, all you say I was that, so I am that. Don't call him that. He's not damn dictator. He probably want to be. And if you go there and bring violence against the state and try to hurt the state, what he's going to do? He's going to really consolidate and make this a police state. And that's when you're in trouble. That is when you are in trouble. Those of you who talking about reform and castigating the diaspora should vote. What's wrong about the diaspora voting? They are Dominicans. Your idea should be to find a way for them to vote from where they are. Absentee, by having them pay tax, declare their taxes, pay your tax, and anybody who's on the tax threshold and the social security and contribution can get an absentee ballot. So if they want to bring down some to vote, they can bring down some. But more people who live in the diaspora would vote against the government right now. So your narrative should not be against the diaspora. It should be for saying, well, guys, we want you to vote, but we want an absentee ballot for you. If you register through the system, you're already on the list, and you become part of the threshold. You reorganize and reaffirm yourself, whatever you have words you want to put. But you cannot be seen to be speaking against a set of people. And you don't have the muscle to keep the set of people you're speaking against from not coming to vote and expect to get them to vote for you. That is ABCD of politics. So you call the incumbent prime minister a dictator and a ruthless whatever, he will take the title. You try to hurt the nation by having a violent protest, he will lock it down and say, look, until such time that we can restore control, that's it. And that's, you're talking about 10, 15, 20 more years of police rule, military rule in Dominica. Is that what you want? Be careful what you go for. Because Dominica can be a Haiti, a Nicaragua, a Venezuela, a Syria. Dominica can be that. People say that Dominica no longer is a democracy. Of course, Dominica is still a democracy. A very unhealthy democracy. But we are still a democracy, man. Look at me speaking here. Look at other people speak. People still walking around Dominica relatively freely. Yes, the government is doing their little thing, but all government did what they had to do. This one is doing a bit much. I agree. But we can beat that. We can beat that, man. We make it sound as if Dominica there's no hope for us, for our country and our people. There is hope. If you have no hope, and if you see the only way for you to win is for there to be a protest, well, let that be a narrative. Don't let that be a Dominica reality. It is not Dominica's reality. I may be wrong. And I may be speaking to a group of people who are not listening, but the children tomorrow will say that, daddy, uncle, grandpa, professor, whatever they want to call me, did try his best. And that is it, guys. I do not want to prolong the conversation. I think I make the point. I'm not too sure about comments. I'm going to see whether there are any comments that I can respond to. After which, I'm going to take a little break and go join Carlos on the Team Unity Dominica's program. Carlos is speaking about industries. You want to give Carlos a listen as well, guys. But that's one of the misconceptions, again, that some have, is that I form two parties. Man, I form one party. And I got people involved in that one party, and you know what happened to that party. And the second party, yes, I assisted that group of individuals because Carlos was the guy who come to me and say, partner, don't give up, Dominica still need you. And I say, boy, Carlos boy, Carlos boy. That's why Carlos is the leader of TUD today. Because he came to me and tell me do, so I do, and I tell him, look, lead it. Your brother, your uncle, your friend do not want power. A good friend of mine who I fought knew me, telling me, oh, you want to be in politics and you want to go for prime minister and you know come in Miami and visit people. And I said, me, my brother, you don't know me, man. If I wanted the prime minister, I'll be living in Dominica. I'll be waking up in Calibishi and walking around back street, Quet Coco, Calibishi Ridge. Every day, morning, noon, and night, boiling a pot by ugly today, going by little and do one tomorrow, sleeping different spot, organizing youth camp and youth rally. I would be doing that easily, and I would bingo big. That's not how I don't want to be prime minister. I don't want to be in office. I want another group of people to replace that present group. And there are people in that present group that wants to be replaced too. They're tired, some of them, but they're not seeing any hope. Anyway, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give too much out. Because most of what I have, I give it to Carlos and the Team Unity to try to help. And I hope that people who are thinking of doing new things in different ways, at least let's talk about it, because all of us, I think, in the progressive faction, want there to be progress. And the best way to do it is for us to bring our best minds together. If you have an idea, put your idea down on paper and let's talk about your idea. You can't just have an idea in your mind based on your emotion and your thinking and say, okay, I can do my thing. Let us put pen on paper and sit down and have a dialogue and find the best way forward. We can change the political status quo in Dominica without a drop of blood being shed. And that's my contribution today. That's my program. Let me see whether there is any comments. Producers, if you see anything that jumps at you, let's put it out there so I can read. I'm not going to go back to the things that were said before my program started because these are distractions. But if there's anybody who is live who actually contributed something, I would be more than happy to respond. Chris Bugono, keep the comment up so I could read it. Chris said, can you tell us, the comment went back too quickly. Can I put the comment up for me, please, Madam Producer? I was not able to read the comment from Chris. I need it back up on the screen so I could read it. And thank you. Can you tell us what was the intention of those who wrote the Constitution? That is, the people, when they specified protests as part of the rights of the people and what they meant. Were they aware of violence being part of protest? If they did, why pacify the word protest? Okay, well, the people who wrote the Constitution believed in the people's rights to protest, but peaceful. No constitution make allowances for riotous protests. Anytime protest goes beyond peaceful, they are shut down. Now, there are riots and revolutions that have changed governments and regimes, fine. You do control that, but these are not constitutional. These are not guaranteed. These are not protected. What is protected is peaceful assembly in terms of putting this there. People have the rights to talk, but do you have the rights to go and libel and slander me? No. So those rights or those constitutional guarantees were put in there for the right reasons, because although our constitution was not written by our people, it was written for us by the people who say that no, we are free and we are now a democracy. It was given to us by England. There was no architect of Dominica's constitution. Some local might have played a part in that, but if I had it my way, based on what Thomas Baptist told, we would have a new set of architects write a Dominican constitution that is more in line with the spirit of the people. So, Chris, when the protest rights was given, it was given so that people would honestly, peacefully petition against government and interest that they are at odds with. But there is no form of violence that is guaranteed. And I think there was a second part to the question. I need to see the question again to make sure I answer Chris correctly. Um, so can you please put up Chris' comment again? Okay. And the second part was, if they did, so Chris is asking, the specified procedure as part of the, and were they aware of violence being part of protests? If they did, why pacify the word protest? So I'm not too sure why you're asking me about pacifying protests. I don't think I am. If you're talking about me, I'm at a pacified protest. I believe wholly and strongly in protests, and I think people should protest. I have no problem with people protesting. In fact, I was a big protester. I even protested in Dominica overseas with my placard with my people on the home front. There was one time I had a one-man protest at the Barracoon building against Cecil Joseph, and who was the mayor at the time of Roseau. I ended up almost losing my job from Brisbane at that time because I went on my lunch hour to protest and I was reported. I had to apologize and write a letter, and I had to do it because I wanted to save my job. But I am a protester. I believe in people's rights to protest, and I think Dominicans should protest. Even if you are not called out, you should have your little one-man protest. I think Ronald Charles used to do it very well by the hospital every day. And I see Nurse Rosie doing a protest as well. It's fine. People should protest. But I think the calls that I've been hearing for people to come, and that's the only way you're going to get back Dominica, is by taking the country back. And I think that's a problem. It's an error. All right. So Chris, I hope I answered your question. All right. Let's get another question up, guys. My producer. If not, I think, wow. Sam Hill. Keep it up for me, please, so I can read it. Quite frankly, when you look at how things change in my country politically, the change, whatever form it takes, will happen only when the people on the ground are ready. I agree, so far. The statement continues, those of us outside are can only support them. We cannot affect change from outside. Well, I'm not too sure that is 100% right, because change is affected by people more outside than inside. I mean, just think about the different revolutions that we have had in recent times with the social media. So I do not agree with that part of the thing. We may not be there in body, but we can give logistic, technical, financial influence, some kind of support. And I think the people who live overseas have done well to help support our people at home. So I agree with the first part of your statement, not with the second part. We can affect change from outside. See what's happened in Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali recently. Well, these are militant action caused by people on the home front. But do you think that the people from the outside do not have any say in what's going on? I assure you, my brother Sam Hill, if you trace the spheres of influence, you're going to see it live in the country in many different places. Yes, the work on the ground has to be done by the people on the ground, but we cannot just leave Dominica and say, look, Dominicans, we're not there to do it. We have to help our brothers and sisters. All right. And Sam Hill went on to say, whatever consequences arise from these changes, the people of these countries are ready to accept them. They are ready for change, which is why they're supporting their current leader. Again, I do not know what you're saying. That to mean, I think our Dominicans are ready, but I don't think our Dominicans have any declared strong person leader to follow right now. That is not in office. The strongest leader in Dominica now is the one in office. There's no central figure. And I don't think you need a central figure. I just think you need a central message. And when that central message is out there and people rally around that message, I think that's going to happen. I don't think any one political person in Dominica on the opposition side is going to be able to do it. It has to be a collective effort with a message that unites people around the cause of standing up for our country. And that's what I think, my brother Sam Hill. I disagree on certain things respectfully, but I also agree with you on certain things as well. Good contribution so far, guys. Nobody so far is lashing out and méprising me, so that is nice. Um, Another comment, Margaret Wallace, doctor. Protest action is protected, breaking the law is not. That is correct. Protest is a protected constitutional guarantee, going beyond the wild realms of protest. Even while protesting, blocking the streets, throwing stones, burning buildings and stuff, and hurting people, that's not protected. No, we have seen that in the past, and people may see people angry, people can do things, but it's a fine line. That is not a protected form of protest. The government is going to lock you down anytime. That happens. And anybody who do it under the cover of your protest is also done under your watch as well. So protest leaders must always be overzealous to control their protest. And yes, there are people who have planted themselves in protest to cause problems for the organizers. That's why when you're organizing a protest, your message must be clear. Like Triple K, I like that about them. When they're playing Carnival time and there's like a fracas, like a pushing, like a roughness, they stop in the band. Hey, stop, stop, stop. We're not in that. Big flash, big light flashing on the people. And then they have to stop because Triple K don't promote any violence in their job. You stop the band and you say, look, that's not what we're doing. That's what people who are organizing protests should do, to show their message as one, like Dr. King. There's no way you could go and have a fight in Dr. King's protest. No, no. You want to go and fight, go with some of the other group. There were other people, revolutionaries who were fighting. But Dr. King did not tolerate that. I'm not saying that's the only way, but that is not a protected guarantee. Violence. And I don't think violence should be the answer to anything. There are times when it might be necessary, but now in Dominica, I don't think it is necessary. Man, Dominicans are ready to stand up, man, but the organization of the people who are in the alternative are not. People still fighting for the thing. I told you the other day, I had my odds with a guy who I had been to, and I said, partner, let's work together because we all have the same goal in mind. Let's bring ourselves together so we can challenge the status quo. The man tell me he have to go and fix his party first. I know. Over 2 years now, he's fixing his party, not realizing his party is in power, you know. And he's still telling me that it was about his party first. How we can put your party before your country? And those people who support the opposition, the former opposition, parliamentary opposition, saying the same thing. Oh, their party is the only party that stands a chance. Where you see that? How you learn that? So we have to kind of move away from the my party thing and just kind of work with all the ideas. So we represent Dominica and we go and rescue our country. Because right now, Dominica needs a fix. And the people who have been in for 20 years cannot be the fix. After a little while in power, you lose focus, you lose touch, you lose sentiment, you lose the pulse, you become immune to the pain. The power has so enveloped you that you hardly ever feel the plight of the people anymore. It's tough. All right. I think maybe one more comment and then I'll retire. Chris says, that labor and freedom sharing power, in my opinion, is no longer valid. It is a new Skerrit and Friends family party, although most of the freedom supporters are the ones to labor now under the Skerrit new party. The freedom executive have made it clear that they're no longer part of the madness. Bernard Ito, Johnson, Boston. Well, I do not know. I am not calling them freedom labor, I'm not calling it that. I said that has evolved. It started as that, but that has evolved. The power sharing arrangement in Dominica is not a people's movement. It's an elite movement. So I am never one of those that call it freedom, and I will not call it freedom. But I'm telling you, the base of that power in Dominica right now comes from the strength of the Freedom Party. And yes, Bernard is the leader of his Freedom Party, and Joe Bosso is a consummate freedomite. I respect the Freedom Party and the institution that it is, but facts are facts. That the former president was a Freedom Party leader. He was the one who played a major part to organize his power sharing stuff. So they have to do their own work. and do some introspection and do what it is that they have to do, but not at the behest or the not at the thing of the not on their own time. Dominica needs attention now more than the party. So you have to still work with your party, but work with Dominica as well. Or your mission should be for Dominica. It shouldn't be for party first and then Dominica. No, I'm not saying that that is what they're saying. I'm just speaking in general, Chris. So that's what Chris was saying there. I think Margaret made a very significant comment earlier, Dr. Wallace. If you can put it up. Okay, Dominica currently doesn't have a strong opposition, Pat, that can be an alternative for the people except for TUD, who are the only party that took part in the last election. My question is, not many people have been talking about Todd and its message. Do you know what are the intentions of TUD for the upcoming election, for the upcoming year 2024? Okay, why people are not talking about Todd, Chris, is because people think talking about Todd is going to give Todd leverage. That doesn't mean that Todd is not effective. When people try to shun you politically, it can be a wise thing. But even if they don't talk about Todd, Todd is out there, and Todd has significant plans to continue being the platform for unity and growth moving forward. And I think 100 million and 2 million and 3 million parties could emerge in Dominica right now. When they come, ask them to show you their plan. If their plan does not reflect what our plan is in terms of the unity, the oneness of purpose, the colors of our flag, growth, prosperity, probably you want to stick with what we have. And if theirs is exactly what we have, well, we should be able to work it out together somehow. And Chris, what we have is very clear for the world to see. We have a movement that is built on unity, hope, progress, and strength. Okay, I'm not going to take any more comments. I'm going to stop. I'll see you guys next week with another interesting program. Thank you for tuning in. We had record numbers of people, good communication, good conversation. Join me in about a minute or so with Carlos on the TUD platform. Chris, we're going to speak about enterprises and what the future can be for Dominica. Take care, guys.